All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are tracing the absolutely astonishing journey of an institution that, for the longest time, seemed truly invincible. We're talking about a financial titan that survived the devastation of the American Civil War, powered through the grueling economic collapse of the Great Depression, only to ultimately, well, orchestrate its very own demise. It's a massive story of ambition, sheer survival, and a totally shocking downfall.
But to really understand the sheer magnitude of this story, we kind of have to start at the end. $4 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. In the summer of 2008, this 158-year-old Wall Street titan suddenly revealed $4 billion in public losses, and it sent absolute shockwaves around the entire globe. I mean, how does an institution that's been around for over a century and a half suddenly bleed that much capital?
Well, Section 1, Humble Beginnings. Alabama, 1844. Before we can unpack the Wall Street collapse, we've got to travel way back to when a young German-Jewish immigrant arrived in the American South with a simple dream and a serious knack for business.
And it is wild how fast things escalated here. So, in 1844, Henry Lehman arrives in Mobile, Alabama, and just starts peddling basic household and farm goods. Just 3 years later, in 1847, his brother Emmanuel joins the dry goods business, and then, by 1850, boom, the youngest brother, Mayer, arrives. With all three brothers finally together, the enterprise Lehman Brothers is officially born as a formal partnership. They basically transformed a tiny river peddling operation into a structured business in just 6 years.
But this is one of the craziest parts to me. The juxtaposition is just staggering. Think about this contrast. Back in the 1850s, their business relied on a super simple barter system, right? Trading basic stuff like shirts, shoes, and seeds to farmers in exchange for raw, physical cotton. That humble origin contrasts wildly with what they were doing in the 2000s, trading incomprehensible, highly complex, high-risk financial derivatives, the exact same instruments that eventually destroyed them. So how exactly did they get from selling dry goods to high finance? Well, at the time, cotton was literally the white gold of Alabama, so they naturally started accepting it as payment, which let them transition from general merchants to cotton commodities brokers. Now, looking at this era, we do need to objectively note that historical records from the 1860 census show Mayer Lehman owned enslaved persons, individuals who likely worked in both their household and their firm. So this early foundation in the Southern cotton economy was deeply, deeply intertwined with the harsh realities of the time.
Moving right along to Section 2, Surviving the Civil War and Bypassing the Blockade. Because this young, rapidly growing firm was about to face its very first true existential threat. When the Civil War broke out, President Lincoln imposed a really strict blockade on Southern cotton. But instead of just collapsing, the Lehman Brothers cleverly circumvented the Union blockade using this totally ingenious transatlantic pipeline. Step 1, they sourced cotton in the blockaded South. Step 2, they shipped that cotton all the way across the Atlantic Ocean over to England. And Step 3, they routed it from England right back into northern factories in New York. All the while, Mayer Lehman actually stayed down in the South, neutrally recorded in history as having raised funds for Confederate prisoners of war.
And against all odds, by 1868, they had completely survived the devastation of the war. They packed up, moved their headquarters out of Alabama, and set up shop in New York City, planting their flag right near Wall Street. This established a really powerful, recurring theme that would basically echo for the next century. Lehman does not fall. No matter what the crisis was, they always seem to find a way through. All right, Section 3, Building Modern America and Financing the Future. Let's fast forward to the late 19th and early 20th centuries to see how they practically shaped the modern American economy. Their evolution during this time happened in 3 really distinct phases. Phase 1, they are commodities brokers. But then in Phase 2, they helped found the New York Cotton Exchange in 1870, setting up a massive futures trading venture. But the real game changer happens in Phase 3. In 1906, they partner with Goldman Sachs and successfully pivot from trading physical goods to becoming true Wall Street market makers, working as investment bankers and securities underwriters. I mean, just take a look at the names on this list. They effectively financed the emerging American retail and entertainment landscape. They were underwriting securities and bonds for massive, recognizable corporations that we still interact with today. We're talking Sears, Woolworth, Macy's, and even entertainment titans like 20th Century Fox and Paramount. Lehman Brothers was quite literally funding the modernization of American culture and commerce.
Which brings us to Section 4, The Immortal Bank, A Century of Survival. Because this is the era where their historical resilience truly solidifies into a Wall Street myth.
Think about the sheer scale of the disasters they walked away from.
While other ancient banks just vanished overnight during the Great Depression in 1929, Lehman adapted. They shifted their focus to venture capital. In the 1940s, they actually thrived by funding war industries and infrastructure. Jump all the way ahead to 2001, and they managed to completely rebuild their firm after their offices in the World Trade Center were destroyed during the September 11th attacks. They just always adapted.
Through over a century and a half of global catastrophes, world wars, market crashes, terrorist attacks, the ultimate takeaway for Wall Street was this totally unshakable, unquestioned belief. Lehman simply does not fall. They were basically viewed as an immortal institution.
So, what the heck happened? This is the ultimate mystery and the major turning point of our story today. How did a 158-year-old survivor suddenly collapse? How does a genius institution that survived multiple world wars just completely destroy itself in a matter of months?
Well, here is Section 5, the fatal misstep, subprime mortgages. The answer to our mystery lies in a single, catastrophic strategic shift made right at the dawn of the new millennium.
So, subprime mortgages. Basically, these are really high-risk loans given out to borrowers with poor credit. And during the massive housing boom of the 2000s, Lehman started chasing some astronomical profits. They aggressively expanded into this toxic world. They took these incredibly risky loans, packaged them up into complex, supposedly profitable financial instruments, and just sold them off around the globe.
But as we all know, the bubble burst. As the firm barreled toward a $4 billion loss and ultimately filed for bankruptcy on September 15, 2008, the sheer scale of the internal disconnect became public. Get this. CEO Richard Full Jr. was heavily scrutinized by Congress because he had earned $270 million in compensation during his final 5 years at the helm. And adding to the disaster, experts noted that Lehman was guided by a board that was heavily lacking in modern banking experience.
And that perfectly sets up the culmination of this whole story. It leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to ponder. How did genius turn into disaster? I mean, how does 158 years of unparalleled survival, adaptation, and financial genius vanish entirely because of a single era of Wall Street hubris? It is a striking reminder that no matter how deep the history is or how invincible the reputation might seem, absolutely no institution is truly too big to fail. Thanks so much for exploring this incredible piece of history with me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what's behind the numbers.